Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're tackling a really big question that a lot of you are probably facing if you're building any kind of smart project. Which AI accelerator should you get? We're talking about a real showdown between the established champ and a super powerful newcomer. And it all kicks off with this question we see all the time. This one from a user on Reddit. So this person's setting up a smart security system, pretty common project, and they've hit a wall. Which piece of hardware is going to do the heavy lifting for the AI? And this isn't just a DIY problem. Even the pros are wrestling with this exact choice right now.
All right, so here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll dig into the problem itself. Then we'll meet our two main contenders, the AI accelerators. After that, we'll put them head-to-head in a proper showdown. We'll also look at the bigger picture, why this all matters, and then we'll wrap up with a framework to help you make the right call.
Okay, first up, the DIY AI problem, or why your home server needs a brain boost. So, you might be thinking the same thing as our Redditor. They've got a pretty solid Intel i7 processor. Why isn't that enough? Why can't a chip like that just handle a few video streams doing AI detection?
Well, the short answer is that analyzing multiple video feeds in real time is just an enormous amount of work. Think of your regular computer processor, your CPU, like a jack of all trades. It's awesome at juggling email, web browsing, all that everyday stuff. But AI video analysis? That's a whole different beast. It needs a specialist. Your CPU just gets completely overwhelmed, and it quickly becomes a major bottleneck.
And that right there is the core challenge of what we call edge AI. You're basically trying to cram the raw power of a giant data center into a tiny, power-sipping, and affordable little box that can sit right there in your garage. So how do you do it? Which brings us to our solution. Meet the AI accelerators. These are the specialized chips that are really powering the edge. We're talking about hardware that's purpose-built for one thing and one thing only. Now, you'll hear them called a few things. NPU, or Neural Processing Unit, is the common one. Google calls theirs a TPU, a Tensor Processing Unit. But look, at the end of the day, it's all the same idea. These chips are designed from the silicon up to do one job: crush the specific kind of math that AI models use. They do it super fast, and they barely sip any power. They're the specialist you bring in to help your generalist CPU.
And that leads us right to our two main players in the ring today. In this corner, the tried-and-true veteran, the go-to choice for years for so many projects, the Google Coral. And in the other corner, the powerful new challenger that's got everybody talking, the Hailo 8.
So, Coral versus Hailo, the showdown. Let's get down to it. How do these two really compare? And this goes way beyond just looking at a spec sheet. This is about what each one represents for the future of your project. And honestly, the way people are talking about this online really hits the nail on the head. For the Google Coral, the vibe is, it'll work fine today, but it's a dead-end product. So it's reliable, it's a known quantity, it gets the job done now. But then you have the Hailo 8, and the feeling is, Hailo should have better future models, more accurate detection. It's all about that forward-looking potential, right? The promise that it's going to handle the bigger, better AI models that are just around the corner. Okay, let's talk raw power for a second. The Hailo 8 is rated for 26 TOPS. TOPS stands for tera operations per second. What does that actually mean? It means 26 times trillion calculations, every single second. That is just a staggering amount of number crunching. And that's exactly the kind of horsepower you need to run those next-gen AI models that are way bigger, way more complex, and way more accurate, all on a chip you can hold in your hand.
And this chart, it shows you exactly what that kind of power does in the real world. I mean, we are not talking about a small bump here. The research shows that just by adding one of these accelerators, you can boost your system's performance by almost 5 times compared to just chugging along on a CPU. That is a massive, massive leap.
But there's always a but, isn't there? All that amazing futuristic power from the Hailo? Yeah, it's going to cost you, and that's a huge deal. The original Redditor even said they wanted to get away with a lower cost. For anyone just getting started or working on a home project, the fact that the Google Coral is cheaper is a really big deal, and honestly, it might be all they need right now.
So let's talk about the future, because this whole debate is about so much more than one person's security cameras. What we're really seeing here is a preview of a massive shift in technology. AI isn't just for giant, far-off cloud data centers anymore. It's moving to the edge, into the small devices all around us.
But is having the most powerful hardware the whole story? Not even close. You can have the fastest chip in the world, but what about the software?
How do you actually get your brilliant AI model to run on that thing?
And this post from a developer on GitHub just sums up the headache perfectly. They're saying, hey, I trained this model, but I have no idea if it'll actually work on the Coral TPU. And this is the other side of the coin, compatibility. It's not plug and play. You have to convert your model, shrink it down, and then cross your fingers and hope that every single little piece of your model is actually supported by the chip. It can be, well, a bit of a nightmare.
And this isn't some niche problem anymore. This stuff is becoming super common because Edge AI is absolutely blowing up. Seriously, it's everywhere you look. It's in smart security systems, those fancy automated retail stores, industrial automation on factory floors, and it's definitely in our cars. The demand for smart, fast, local AI is just going through the roof.
So let's bring it all together and get practical. It's time for making your choice, a framework for your next AI project. If you're sitting there about to start something new, how do you actually pick between these two?
Well, it really comes down to asking yourself 4 key questions. First, performance. Are you cool with what works well today, or are you building for the more demanding models of tomorrow? Second, future-proofing. Is this a quick one-off project or something you want to build on for years? Third, the big one, cost. What's your budget? And finally, simplicity. How much of a headache are you willing to put up with to get everything plain nice together? So look, at the end of the day, there's no single winner here. The best choice is the one that's right for you. If you've got a project with clear needs and you're using established models, the Google Coral is a brilliant budget-friendly option. But if you're someone who wants to be on the cutting edge, who wants the power to run whatever comes next, and you don't mind a bit of a learning curve, then the Hailo 8 is your investment in the future. And that leaves us with one last fascinating question to think about. These tiny, powerful AI brains, they're only going to get cheaper, smaller, and more common. They're going to be baked into everything. It's not a question of if, it's just a question of when. So what do you think will be the next everyday object in your life to suddenly get a brain?